A new review document was released today that'll outline possible steps to combat our domestic violence. Very interesting. A discussion paper came out, and what's been found is that we have shocking statistics on domestic violence. About 100,000 investigations into domestic violence in 2014. I want to get a response from the MPs about this most serious issue. Jan Logie, are you shocked by the statistics?
No, the Greens have been banging on about this for years now. And I used to work in Women's Refuge. It was my first job out of university. And that was not long after the new Domestic Violence Act had come in. And it's been so deeply frustrating for me to see a regression in the legal protections for women since that time. And to see women and children dying, multiple reports being written saying that our system is fundamentally broken, and actually things just getting worse. So I am so unbelievably pleased to see this report come out today.
What is the big thing for you? I mean, a couple of things here, a couple of controversial ideas. One is allowing people to do a police check on a prospective partner. What do you think of that around the panel? Well, let's do Chris. Chris, what do you think about that aspect of it?
Look, I think it's worth discussing, and it's worth discussing because domestic violence in New Zealand is something that is, one of the most insidious evils facing New Zealand. There's a report to the police about every 5 minutes on average in New Zealand per day, and we've got to do something about it. So there'll be people who legitimately raise concerns about the privacy of the proposal you just raised, and that's fair enough. But look, we've got to have a discussion about stuff.
Well, you can have a discussion, but I just want an answer, really. I mean, how might that work? Allowing people to do a police check on a prospective partner. That's one of the many initiatives, something quite interesting. What do you reckon about that, Trevor Mallard?
Absolutely. I think if you're letting someone into your life, you're letting someone in with your kids, then you've got a right to know what their background is.
But if you're in love, though, you often don't want to do that sort of thing.
Well, that's a call. I mean, I don't think we're going to have compulsory checks. I think what we should have is the right for people to make a check.
I just want to sort of actually, Damien, a couple of audience members on that, compulsory checks or checks on prospective partners. Would it work, do you think?
Okay, well, let's just go up here. This chap looks thoughtful. Hello, sir.
Hi.
How would you, if you were getting into a relationship, how would you feel about checking your prospective partner or her checking you for a history of domestic violence?
I'm not sure, actually. I think there's obviously an issue with people's privacy there. I can definitely understand that with something as significant as domestic violence in New Zealand, it is a massive issue. We do need to do something. Whether this is the way to handle it, I'm not sure, but I think I probably agree with Chris saying it's definitely something that's worth talking about.
I suppose I just think on top of my head, actually, at the moment, you could already do that as long as they consent to it. Anyone can get a police check of their criminal record. So if they didn't consent, then you go, well...
Yeah, well, I guess obviously if they're willing to consent, they're probably willing to have that conversation with you anyway. But
Cool. I want to talk to this other Jan Logie in the audience. Hello there, how are you? What do you... same haircut is basically what it comes down to. I was asking Jan, have you got any relatives in the audience? What do you think? Do you think the same as Jan Logie?
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't actually seen that recommendation yet.
Yeah, what do you think of it though? I mean, do you think would you consider asking a partner of yours to get a police check if that was a thing?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it's an interesting idea.
Worth thinking about. Thank you, Wallace.
Cool, Damien. Thank you very much. What is anything that bugs you about this particular report, or do you think that it's a real step in the right direction? The Domestic Violence Act hasn't worked. We need something more, Trevor Mallard.
Well, we certainly do need something more. And there was quite a period in New Zealand where AIDS was more prevalent than it was, and people were quite happy to allow people to get medical checks to make sure that they were safe with their partners. Well, I think this is not only their partners, but it's the kids and the rest of the family. And I think it's a good thing. And people are absolutely right. If people haven't got anything to hide, then they should be prepared to have it out there. And let's also remember that the police records are actually just the tip of the iceberg anyway.
Jan, you wanted to mention something?
This is one of the parts in the report that I'm least enthusiastic about. I think we need to see what happens in the UK, and they're looking at implementing it. Because typically an abuser in a situation, they'll tell a story and they'll suck you into their story while telling you it's their fault or you're responsible to help fix them. So actually maybe knowing won't help. But it's what I'm excited about this report is it's talking about training for people operating within the system, the judiciary, our lawyers, some basic standards around risk assessment, and it's the less flashy things that could make the massive
I want to ask you,
difference.
Jan, for those of us around the country who don't know much about it, give us an insight into Women's Refuge and what happened there and what you did there.
Oh, what I did as a coordinator.
And what you saw, what you saw.
Well, we would get calls from women who were in crisis point and wanting to escape, or who were just wanting to suss out what support might be available if they were thinking about how to get out. And sometimes we would rush in and pick them up and their kids, and we would bring them into the house, and other times we would talk through options. And I saw children who wouldn't let go of guns because they felt that it was their job to protect themselves and their mum, who were in a state of constant trauma. I saw women who believed it was their fault and that really they could just maybe do something differently and it would get better, that they were responsible for his behaviour. It's a very, very complex problem that is, we have epidemic rates of.
Brief response before we go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I completely agree with Jan. I've visited my local women's refuge and collected from the other day and done a bit of reading about this issue. And I think one thing that we could potentially do, and we're looking at in this discussion document, is making protection orders easier to access and more effective as well. I know of cases where it's been hard to get protection orders for various reasons and hard to enforce them. And looking at how we can make those more effective and easier as part of the discussion we need to have.
All right, briefly, Trevor, got to go.
Yeah, and I think that technology might be the answer to some of that. We've had a lot of stuff around electronic bracelets and that sort of arrangement. And my view is we're nearly at the point where it's acceptable to say that we have an electronic bracelet which goes off in the police station if you get within 2K of where you shouldn't be.